Greetings! Welcome to this new series on my channel, which I decided to call Discontinued Pigments. As the title implies, I want this series to explore the pigments that have been discontinued over time, some more recently, some have been unavailable for quite some time now. So why are pigments being discontinued in general? The thing is, the art industry is dependent on the car industry for the availability of these pigments because on its own, it's not an industry big enough to justify producing pigments. However, the car industry is a big enough industry that justifies creating and manufacturing pigments. So what we do is we take the same pigments and we make paints with it. The problem is, when the car industry loses interest in a specific color, well, oftentimes that pigment gets discontinued, which means we no longer have access to it. A couple of pigments have been discontinued because they were particularly toxic colors, but generally we lose pigments when the car industry decides to be done with them. What I want to do with this series is, first of all, keep track of all these pigments and where they're at, but also as a sort of way to grieve for these colors, if I can say that. For this very first episode, I'm going to be talking specifically about the pigments that have been discontinued from Golden. So the company Golden, they make watercolor under the sub-brand QoR. They have a very clear and up-to-date list of the pigments that they no longer have access to. Now, bear in mind, this is just for Golden, in the sense that they talk about their own suppliers of these pigments. Sometimes other companies will have different suppliers, so they will not be announcing discontinuation of specific pigments, and other company will be announcing discontinuation. So it really depends on where they source their pigment. So for QoR/Golden, they have a page that they keep up to date with the pigments that are no longer available and what products have been affected by that. So as you can see from the most recent update, the pigments that have been discontinued regarding watercolor, we have Quinacridone Burnt Orange, so that's PR206. Then we have pigment PO48, which in the watercolor range will be affecting the Quinacridone Gold color and the Quinacridone Gold Deep colors. Then the pigment PR207, which means that the Quinacridone Red Light watercolor has also been discontinued. Then PV15. This is a long list of pigment, which is a bit of a bummer, I'll be honest. But yeah, I'll finish reading through the list and then talk a bit more about what to do and how to deal with it. So they also say that PV15 will no longer be available for their Ultramarine Pink watercolor. Then it's PV49, which will be affecting their Cobalt Violet. Next one is a really interesting example of what I'm saying about each company sourcing their pigments not exactly at the same place. So for QoR, they say that their Mars Orange Deep color will no longer be available because that specific PR101 pigment is no longer available. PR101, that's a very common pigment. It's always going to be available in a variant somewhere, but that specific variant that QoR was using will no longer be available to them, so the color can no longer be made. So these changes in the pigments availability will also affect all the colors that include these pigments in a mix. If you want more detail, I'll link the page in the description. Go check it out, it's really interesting, it's really well made. Golden is a really nice company and they will often offer solutions to mix the colors that have been discontinued from other colors, like to get to a similar hue. So that can be also very helpful. If you decide that you want to stock up on these colors, I'll have affiliate links in the description. If you use them, it doesn't really change anything for you, but it helps support this channel because I get a small return on these purchases. If you decide not to hoard the colors, that's perfectly fine too. I mean, the goal here is to provide information and to help support you whatever you decide to do. I'll have more episodes about discontinued pigments soon. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave a comment below about which of these colors you feel is really going to be problematic for you to replace or not. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye!